Hi, everybody. Mitch Tanenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. This is the security news update for January 1st, 2023. Happy New Year. Hopefully, this year will be a better cybersecurity year than last year. In the privacy and security alerts section, we have one more power outage caused by domestic terrorists. You may recall a couple of weeks ago, we had some terrorists shoot up some substations in South Carolina, causing about 40,000 people to lose their power. Now this is on the West Coast in Seattle, so it's kind of a coast to coast kind of problem. Hopefully, this does not become a commonplace thing. The big problem is depending on how much damage they do, it can take months to get the replacement equipment. Homeland Security has been working for a couple of years now, trying to come up with some temporary solutions to solve this problem. Most of these big transformers and substations are manufactured overseas. Many of them take up to a year to build. And in the meantime, what do you do for power? Next, we're seeing the financial services industry is getting hit by attackers. Hackers are following the Willie Sutton creed, which is going after the money. And excuse me, the result of that is that we're seeing a lot of attacks against financial services, and that includes cryptocurrency, but certainly not limited to it. Speaking of cryptocurrency, the New York Department of Financial Services published guidance for covered entities, which is like banks and mortgage companies and insurance companies and a bunch of other folks, on what the rules are if you want to get into the cryptocurrency activity game. I'm guessing there's probably, given the price crash of crypto over the last couple of months, there's probably less interest in that than there was before. But still, it's kind of interesting to see what DFS wants you to do if you're going to be involved in cryptocurrency. And number one on that list is you got to get their permission. In the important patches area, CISA is warning against yet another attack against Palo Alto network firewalls. This one, the good news is it's a nasty attack, but it only affects a limited subset of Palo Alto customers because it's not a default configuration. So still, if you have Palo Alto firewalls, I would definitely patch them for sure. On the legal front, the Senate has introduced a bill to ban Huawei from the United States financial system, which means you can't pay them. I guess you could pay them maybe in Bitcoin. The challenge of that, and I don't know whether it's going to go anywhere, is the challenge is, given the amount of installed Huawei equipment, does that mean that, for example, ISPs who have their equipment installed are not allowed to buy spare parts? So if the equipment goes down, you're just out of service. It sucks to be you. Don't know what the plan is for that, but we shall see. And the beat up on TikTok goes on. Congress banned TikTok from all executive branch devices. Notice they didn't ban it from legislative branch devices, only from executive branch devices. Kind of interesting. But the House kind of saw that probably wouldn't play well at home. So they implemented a rule saying that there's a ban on TikTok in House-owned devices. Now, remember, of course, this is truly a spit in the ocean. It is purely a political move, because it will make zero difference in terms of the average person's security as a result of that. Now, if in fact, we were to literally ban it from the United States, well, that's a whole other conversation. And I think that would wind up in court forever and ever. This is not going to wind up in court. It just doesn't mean anything to TikToks, and they're just going to say whatever, meaningless. There is apparently and now, I guess there has been a way for what smart thieves, and of course that's a kind of a bit of an oxymoron, but smart thieves would do when they stole your iPhone is they'd swipe down on the phone, they turn off all your radios, and then find my phone doesn't work anymore. There is apparently a way that you can change the configuration of your iPhone so that if the screen is locked and you want to do that, then that requires a password. Hopefully, maybe that'll cause thieves to be discouraged from stealing iPhones. I'm not sure that's the case, but maybe. And if it is, then that's a good thing. Maybe you'll get your phone back. In the breaches category, the one that's causing a lot of ruckus is the LastPass admits that in the last group of hackers who stole passwords were able to go off and steal encrypted user password vaults. Now, one of the challenges that LastPass has is, yes, they were encrypting user IDs and passwords, but there's some other stuff that was not encrypted. That's shame on them, and that's potentially a problem for users if they put passwords in non-encrypted fields. We are looking at other solutions. I think the risk is relatively small if you went off and followed LastPass rules. Had a long, hard to break password and didn't reuse your master password elsewhere. I'd say the risk is pretty low. And also in the ransomware category, the Lake Charles, Louisiana Memorial Hospital health system, is sending out a breach notification to 270,000 customers who received care there. The breach occurred in October. They're just sending out the notice now. Possibly the reason why they're doing that is because the hackers have started publishing the data. That's a technique that hackers are using to try to get people to come to the bargaining table. And of course, with a hospital, you've got all your normal name and address stuff, but you've also got medical records, insurance information, clinical care information, other information. All that's great to commit healthcare fraud. So watch your healthcare records and see if assuming you got care there. If you do business with the federal government and you will need to be CMMC certified at some point in time, we've got some great tips from a provisional assessor in terms of things to watch out for. People think they're ready, and well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I think the thing that's going to shock people is the range of people that are required to be certified under this rule. It's not just DoD contractors and subcontractors. It's most of their service providers or cloud providers, just a whole bunch of folks. If you have contract developers, they'll need to be certified. If you have contract support folks, they'll need to be certified. So it's a big deal. Next, in the privacy law department, interesting story this week. I read that we may not get a national privacy law, but not for the reason that you think. It turns out that there's some strong interest in the government against a national privacy law. And the reason is the government is buying all this data. It's easier for the government to buy the data than to get a judge to issue a warrant to go screw around with getting these service providers to comply. They just go buy it. And if the national privacy law kicks in, and of course, it depends whether the law has any teeth or whether it's useful or not. But let's assume that it's on par with the state privacy laws. It gives people the option to opt out of you collecting their data. Then the amount of data that's going to be available will go down dramatically, which of course will not make the data brokers very happy, and apparently won't make the government very happy either. So that's kind of interesting. Next, Okta got its source code stolen. That's a problem. Obviously, it's a problem for Okta. We're seeing more and more of this. Microsoft, Mercedes, a bunch of companies that had their source code stolen. It obviously makes it easier for the hackers to go look for weaknesses and vulnerabilities in the source code. I know that everybody says my source code is perfect, but the reality is that no source code is perfect. And the result of that is that it's going to be easier for the bad guys to go off and steal things. And then daily, well, I guess we're already there. Never mind. So last but not least, Comcast Xfinity has a problem with their two-factor authentication. Apparently, they are aware of it. There is some way to bypass it. This is not a weakness in the concept of two-factor authentication. This is just a bug in how they've implemented. The hackers have figured it out and compromised a bunch of Comcast accounts. It looks like the TSA may roll out facial recognition for security screening nationwide next year. I got my concerns about that in part because the TSA doesn't have a great track record of protecting anything that they have, but also because I think there's going to be some problems with false positives and false negatives. So, we shall see how that goes. Uh, in the karma department, I kind of love this. Scammers are trying to buy hacking tools, and the other scammers that they're buying them from are taking their cryptocurrency, their fake money, and they are not delivering the goods. And the hackers who are getting hacked aren't happy about it, and they're whining a lot. So I just call that karma. It's not a big deal. In the FTX bankruptcy case, the Bahamian regulators claim they've seized $3.5 billion in cryptocurrency assets. Apparently, FTX had absolutely no controls over crypto wallets. Big surprise there. But FTX says, maybe it wasn't $3.5 billion. Maybe it was like 300 million, only 10% of that. So we shall see as this moves on. But still, it's some amount of whatever it is that they have, probably cryptocurrency. In the privacy front, there was a back in the 2018 and before timeframe, there was a website called Girls Do Porn, which tricked college age women into posing nude and engaging in sex acts under duress and under false pretenses that it would never be seen, and a bunch of other stuff. The founder, one of the two founders of this horrible situation, skipped the country. He's been a fugitive. He was on the FBI's most wanted list, and they found him in Spain. They've arrested him. He will be extradited to the United States, and I doubt he's going to get bail, given he is been a fugitive from justice. So that's a good thing. And lastly, interesting story. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I've heard some pieces of it. Obviously, most of the cyber criminals get paid in cryptocurrency. Well, with cryptocurrency going in the wrong direction in terms of price, these bad guys, what do they do? If we get cryptocurrency, is it just going to lose value overnight? And then it's really, obviously they could just multiply the numbers, right? If cryptocurrency is worth a third of what it used to be, ask for 3 times as much. But still, what is the liquidity of the cryptocurrency market? It's harder for them to wash that. They are doing some kind of stuff that we've seen in the traditional financial services sector of hedging and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see, whether or not in 2023 cybercrime is down because it's harder to get paid. I mean, there's been a lot of people who've said that if people just would not go off and pay the ransom, cybercrime would go away because there just isn't as much money in it. I mean, obviously they could still steal your data and sell it, but how do they get paid? And if they can't get paid in cryptocurrency, then all of a sudden, it looks a whole lot less lucrative. So we're just going to have to watch that this year and see what happens. But it is an interesting side event of the cryptocurrency being flushed down the toilet price, being flushed down the toilet these days. So with that, thanks for listening. You have a great week, hopefully a great 2023, and come back next week for more security news updates. Thanks.
Turnkey Cybersecurity and Privacy Solutions offers the complete cybersecurity program for small to medium-sized businesses. They include everything needed to secure your business and meet compliance requirements. Visit our website at turnkeycybersecurityandprivacysolutions.com to learn more.